a globally recognized expert in the intersection of food, technology, and consumer behavior. You bring a unique perspective on science, policy, and innovation. He has held roles in both government and private sector, and right now you are the executive director at Rothman Family Institute of Food Science at UCLA. Welcome.
Thank you. I was just asked at the last minute to come and do this, and so I thought I would lean in to the responsibility of a commercial break. So, folks, don't adjust your set. You're tuned in to a special commercial break brought to you by the Future of Food and the Rothman Family Institute for Food Studies. And what's tonight's feature? Making nutrition not just sustainable, but accessible. So it's within reach for everybody, everywhere. Look, the reality is that most people won't change what they eat to save their lives. Why do we think they'll change what they eat to save the planet? That's a challenge. That means sustainable nutrition needs to be baked into every single product so that consumers don't have to make tough decisions. They can make delicious decisions. Every day, climate change, conflict, and inflation are shaking up our food system. The way a bad signal used to shake up our TV sets, fuzzy, unreliable, and sometimes downright scrambled. So, the gap between wanting to eat healthy and being able to afford it is getting wider. Some people can spring for organic kale chips. Some of us don't want to. Our system, well, it's efficient, sure, but it's like the game of Jenga, where you have the blocks that you stack up, and we've stacked them really, really, really high now. But you pull out one piece and the wrong piece, and you get a drought in Brazil, you get a war in Ukraine, you get a ship snagged in the Suez Canal. The entire thing is at risk. Not exactly the steady food supply you want your dinner to depend on. But wait, there's more. By 2050, we're going to have 9.5 billion people on the planet. That doesn't mean piling plates higher. That means producing food smarter. But it's going to be tough. For 10,000 years, we've asked farmers to do one thing: produce more food. But we now exist at that one unique moment in all of human history when we're asking them to produce better food. Food that's better for people and the planet. And that transition is going to be remarkably challenging. Reformulation helps us get more nutrition out of fewer resources. Diversification helps us move away from volatile commodities. And together that builds resilience into our food system. Think of it as upgrading from cable TV to streaming. Same TV, but suddenly you can get more households more reliably anywhere. And who's making this possible? UCLA, the #1 public university in America, the #1 dining program in America, and home of the Rothman Family Institute for Food Studies. Now at RFI, we don't just ask about what the future of food looks like. We ask, how do you bring people together to solve problems? How do you depolarize society? That's what we're working on. Because science tells us what we can do, but it's the public that tells us what we should do. And if the public doesn't want our innovations, it doesn't matter that you can solve the world's problems. So we're creating tools, frameworks, and narratives that help companies, policymakers, and communities communicate across barriers to create demand for innovation and inspire hope for a better future. It's not just about reformulating products or reformulating supply chains, but it's also about reformulating the stories we tell about food. According to the World Economic Forum, misinformation is the #1 threat to society. Polarization is the #4 threat to society, which I think is the driver of misinformation. And so that's why institutes like KH&I or others are helping to educate science to create a healthier, more sustainable, nutritious food. It's so critically important. So, if you like food innovation with a little inspiration, think of us as the research and development lab for the future of food that works for everyone. Breaking barriers isn't just about tweaking recipes, it's about redesigning the system so nutritious food is actually within reach. Because innovation doesn't matter if it can't reach the table. Fact is, most people love innovation almost as much as they despise change. And there is no place they despise change more than in the food they eat. Because food is what brings us together with friends, it brings us together with family, and if you mess with my food, you're messing with my family. And people don't like that. But if we don't change how we produce food, everything will change. So, we need to stop asking people to sacrifice for the future, and we need to start asking them to embrace the future. We need to stop preparing for the future that we expect, and we need to begin creating the future that we want. Because when we get the supply chains right, we feed more people, more affordably, and more reliably. And that's a commercial break we're tuning in for. So remember, when it comes to nutrition, don't just play to win the round, play to win the future.